Hello, this is Crispin Flintoff from Not the Andrew Marr Show. Before this video starts, I'd just like to ask if you'd subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we will be covering the general election from a totally different perspective from what you get from the mainstream media. We'll be talking about the candidates who are taking on Labour and the Tories and pushing them all the way. So please subscribe and get updates. How are you doing? Are you there, Prem?
Yes, I am here. Good morning, Crispin, and good morning to all the comrades.
Thank you for coming on and for your patience. Now, look, I saw this story. It's sort of a week or so ago, which is about Labour's attempt to pay for the NHS and education and other things, and it's all meant to show how fully costed everything is. Now, I'm just going to play a couple of a clip of this is the policy that Rachel Reeves has put forward.
By cracking down on tax avoidance, making sure that the tax code is properly complied with, and ensuring that non-doms pay their fair share of tax here in Britain, that we can bring in over £5 billion a year by the end of the Parliament and redirect that money to where it belongs, in our frontline public services, our schools and our hospitals. And that is what I'm able to fully fund and fully commit to with these announcements.
And as you see, there's a lot of mention of it's all fully costed. That mantra is being pushed into everyone's head that Labour's got it all fully costed. There's a bit of detail here about the policy boosting tax compliance. Labour will set the target to raise up to £5 billion per year by the end of the next Parliament from action on tax compliance. This would be additional to the current compliance yield target for HMRC, which is 40.5 billion in 2023 to 2024. It says the chief executive of HMRC has said that for every marginal £1 that HMRC spends on compliance activity, there's a return of £9 in additional tax revenue. This means we will need to invest 555 million per year in additional HMRC resources to achieve 5 billion in revenue by the end of the Parliament. Now, I'm not great on numbers. I got a C grade in O level at maths, I'm afraid. But what do you make of this policy? It says if you invest, if the party invests 555 million per year in then if the Labour government, invests 555 million per year, it will achieve 5 billion in revenue by the end of the Parliament. Have you looked at these figures? What do you make of them, Graham?
Well, there is some merit in giving additional resources to HMRC. So the idea is if they have additional resources, they can go after those people who are running rings around it and dodging taxes. In the last tax year, there were only 397 people in HMRC looking at giant corporations and how they handle their tax affairs. To put that in context, Big Four accounting firms alone have 4 times that many people. And then you think about what law firms, banks, and the corporations themselves are up to. So on the face of it, it seems sensible to invest in HMRC. But the more you read into Labour policy, there are more questions. So £555 million, what is it actually going to get you? If you're looking at some expert accountants and lawyers, well, they would probably want at least 100,000 salary. Add to that, you need to put them in an office and give them support. Well, you're looking at probably just about 550 extra high-powered people at maximum, even less than that. So that's not really enough. Second thing is HMRC has a huge turnover of staff. In some years up to 10%, in some years a little bit less. But I've met many of these people for a research project I did for John McDonnell when he was Shadow Chancellor. They are totally dedicated, but because of high staff turnover, you don't have continuity in investigating giant corporations and other rich tax dodgers. So you really need to give a pay rise to HMRC staff. That doesn't seem to have been budgeted. At the moment, there are about 50,000 court cases, both by and against HMRC, awaiting hearing. Now, we simply don't have the courts, we don't have the judges, we don't have the legal infrastructure. So Rachel Reeves has made absolutely no mention of how we're going to get the legal infrastructure to achieve this. Then in addition to that, the government, what Labour is doing is actually getting in bed with the tax avoidance industry. For example, to achieve these revenues, which Rachel Reeves mentioned, she has appointed a 4-person panel. That panel includes a former senior tax partner of Deloitte's, that's a big accounting firm, who has spent his whole life designing, marketing, selling tax dodging schemes. Now he's going to be in charge of making policy. Then they also, this panel also includes a former senior tax lawyer working with Simmons and Simmons, one-time advisor to Chancellor Kenneth Clarke. He was then made head of HMRC, and he said publicly, and I quote, "Taxation is legalized extortion." And he was very relaxed about what I call tax abuse. I think the word tax avoidance is increasingly become devalued because it is really abuse. So he was very relaxed about tax abuse by small businesses, and he wanted pensioners to be taxed more heavily. He thinks pensioners never had it so good, even though 2.1 million live in poverty. So these are the people who will be advising Labour frontbench, who are advising Labour frontbench, and who presumably will advise Labour when they're in government on how to shackle these things. That simply is not on. Then the policies Rachel Reeves has announced actually encourage tax avoidance. Let me give you a couple of examples. Many times I've been on your program, I have argued that we should be taxing capital gains at the same rate as we tax wages and salaries. At the moment, capital gains are taxed at a lower rate. Now, Rachel Reeves has said that she will not align the two. That means you have an opportunity to run along to your accountant and say, somehow, can you please convert my salaries and wages to capital gains? Or can you craft a scheme whereby I draw dividends, which are taxed at a lower rate than wages and salaries? So actually, Labour policies would be perpetuating tax avoidance. Rachel Reeves talks about raising 5.1 billion by 2029 from this initiative. You can immediately have 10 to 12 billion pound, maybe more, by aligning taxation of capital gains with wages and salaries. And that is far more easily administratable than going to the courts, than chasing lawyers. I have, over the years, helped some newspapers, radio, TV stations to look at some tax avoidance schemes. They are very, very labor intensive because you need to look at a hell of a lot of things. And before long, the higher up you go in the chain, you will get 20, 30, 40-page long letters from lawyers, very legalistic, very, very complex, and it will take actually months and months. So what HMRC has been doing is entering what they're called sweetheart deals. So ordinary people might not get through the phone to HMRC, but HMRC people will sit down actually with tax avoiders and negotiate a deal. So they are thought to have done this with Vodafone, Google, Microsoft, Goldman Sachs, and said, okay, let us draw the line. Can you give us X? Now, of course, these people are not going to give X unless they think it is beneficial to them. But none of that information is publicly available because everybody's tax return is secret. So we never find out what deals have been done. No parliamentary committee can really scrutinize this. Margaret Hodge tried when she was chair, and now she's actually on the Labour's panel as well. So when I worked with John McDonnell, we had proposed that the tax returns of all large companies and rich people, you can define them any way you like, should be publicly available. that means parliamentary committees can then scrutinise whether HMRC has applied the law fairly and reasonably to everybody, not just making a concession to giant corporations and the rich. So this Simmons & Simmons lawyer, whose name is Edward Troop, he said he was against tax transparency. Now, to my mind, it is hard to see how these people can address this conundrum. So I'm afraid we live in the era of gesture politics, of slogans. What Rachel Reeves has announced makes a good copy because, after all, who would say they don't want to clamp down on tax avoidance? But when you scratch the surface, I'm afraid it is unlikely to make a significant dent. And, poachers very rarely make good gamekeepers. So it is fundamentally flawed to hand policy making to people who are experts in tax dodging. This panel, Rachel Reeves announced, does not include any academics, does not include any trade unionists, does not include any NGOs who've been for years and years talking about how to deal with tax avoidance. So it is really going to be a close kind of a cabal made up of people who are expert at dodging these things. And, we even had examples because the same people have been advising the current government as well. So big accounting firms like KPMG were using that as an advertising opportunity. They were saying something like, come to us and we will show you how so-and-so law works. Meaning, if you decode it, we know what its flaws are and we can help you to exploit it. I mean, this is just a crazy policy and, in my view, utterly inadequate, though it makes a good copy for the press.
No, you couldn't put it any better than that, Prem. I don't have to prod you or anything. You've got all the answers. It's a shame they're not listening to you, but then again, I don't know how it would be to be in that cabal with Rachel Reeves. I think you're too good for that, Prem, I have to say.
Well, I think really we do need a crackdown on, tax avoidance. But first of all, we need to eliminate the anomalies. So the anomalies, as I said, for example, why on earth should return on wealth be taxed at a lower rate than return on investment of human capital? I mean, that is a huge anomaly. Just simply addressing those anomalies can get you close to £100 billion overall. And there is a list which I'm preparing because I think a day will come where, if and when Labour are in power, at the moment looks very likely, they will have to do lots of U-turns because at the moment they're saying that we don't want to borrow money, we don't want to do quantitative easing, and we don't want to raise taxes for the rich, but we want economic growth and more public investment. That isn't going to happen. Private sector's had its time, and we've seen the fiascos with, for example, rail, water, energy, and everywhere else. So we need an entrepreneurial state. That is what we had. Entrepreneurial state invested in aerospace, biotechnology, information technology. It made real investment. And on the back of that, the private sector flourished. Now we have a state which basically guarantees corporate profits, as seen by privatization, PFI, outsourcing, and so on. We need a different kind of state. And also we have to be honest. Taxes will have to increase in order to rebuild society. But who increase upon whom? And my argument is those with the broadest shoulders. And in a recent talk in London, I think it was last week, I was at Jeremy Corbyn's conference. I reminded people that until the 1970s, we hardly heard of food banks. We didn't pay any university tuition fees. NHS queues were much shorter. Why? Because we forced corporations to pay higher rates of taxes. The rich had to pay more in taxes. And we were told, oh my God, the rich will leave if we did that now. And just this week, patriotic millionaires again urging the government to say, please tax us more. We want to pay more tax because we want a better society. So none of this really adds up, So Labour is basically coining slogans, in my view, but they need to make real policies.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on and for your patience. And I hope to catch up with you again soon when there's some proper policies.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Brent.
Bye.